Hello, my creative collective. Welcome back. This is lesson number 3 in A Course in Creativity. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining me. So let's get started. We're going to dive into the lesson in A Course in Miracles as it states. The title of this video, though, was super interesting. Um, Skydiving with parachutes made of stardust. I'm going to get into what that means. But first, we're going to dive into this lesson, okay? Let's take a look. I do not understand anything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. I do not understand anything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? This understanding. We seek to understand, right? We believe that knowledge is somehow powerful. And it is power. Knowledge is power. I'm talking about ego, like ego and the way that we use understanding to interrupt this idea of ourselves being inferior. And so I know that when I was at grad school, it was really popular to use knowledge almost like a vacuum, like just sucking up knowledge. And it was interesting to watch knowledge be this sort of badges worn. It was strange to me, and it's but we do this every day, right? We seek to understand things and to make meaning from things because it allows us to categorize it. It allows us to emplace it into our experience in a way that makes sense, right? The phrase "make it make sense." That's what we do all the time, right? And we don't understand fundamentally what anything means. I think when we admit this to ourselves, when we really take a step back and take a step back from all of the cultural accoutrement that we have, that we build around definitions of what the things that we engage with every day are, right? Building on lesson 1 and 2 of the course, we don't really know what anything means. We don't understand. We don't understand it truly and fully, because in 2 to 5 years, something could be completely different, right? I look at the light switch. You can't see here, but I look at the light switch. If I flick that light switch off and on, it's a banality of stuff, right? The banality of things in your everyday. But then if I were to flick that same light switch and get a shock that hurt or caused some kind of injury in the long term, this is a bit of a dramatic example, but bear with me. That light switch would fundamentally change its meaning. We would understand it completely differently. We would understand it completely differently. So it is about, this lesson to me is about making space for the creative forces to redefine and reshape what you know. But ultimately, this is the undoing. These first few lessons are the undoing of templates that we've been given and things that we've inherited, whether deliberately or by circumstance, by context, by all of those things, right? These are things that we just kind of were handed and we took because we don't know different. We don't know differently from that, right? But this lesson is a real invitation to remember that we don't understand what anything is for. So how can we judge it? How can we judge one another? We don't know what our purpose is. We have ideas. We know what our purpose is when we have that, flash before your eyes moment. When you're about to, move out of this life. But I don't understand anything I see in this room. These books give me some ideas. I engage with them pretty regularly. But I don't understand what they're really for in the long run. And when we start to apply this thought, this way of thinking to people, to things, to the stuff and experiences that we encounter, what ends up happening is we realize that there is such a thing as creative potential, but it's really connected to ego. It's connected to the way that we take the meaning and templates that we've been given in this world, and we say that is the thing that we need to understand. That is understanding. That is knowledge. That is information that is imparted to the stuff, to the 3D materiality around us. And when I, said in another lesson, I wrote down, the pantheon of pain. And that's what we end up doing to ourselves, is we can really crucify ourselves with these definitions and understandings, right? Even if we reach them collectively, even if we reach them communally, they can really shift the way that we engage with others. And, building on the last lessons, a lot of the understanding that we reach comes to us through relationships, But what are those relationships for? What if we don't understand their purpose? Do we know what they're for? Can we say for certain, 100% certainty? And that moment that you get pulled out of that certainty, that is the moment where the ego faces itself. Because you see all of the meaning that you've made. You see all of the things that you've created. And for this course in creativity, this is such a fundamental point, because when we go to create art, when we go to write, poetry is and photography, photo poetry is my jam, right? When I go to create things, I don't know what what trees are for. I know the science, but the science itself is a created template. It's a construct that is indicative of a context, not the true meaning of something. So this lesson, these first few lessons of are a bit on they dive pretty deep into things, but what they're doing is starting to peel back your awareness, the awareness of attachment to the ways that we've defined reality, the ways that we've defined ourselves and one another, because we're getting to this point of oneness. And in order to reach that coming together, that consciousness that blends, that comes together, this is what I love about A Course in Miracles. If you're looking for further reading, there's the raw material. I'll put the link in the description below for that. But A Course in Miracles tends to be the one that I read more and return to over and over again. What I love about this particular lesson is when we admit that we don't understand, when we admit that we don't know, the ego takes a back seat to spirit coming in and offering us something more. And that something more, it sometimes is just an energy at first, but it builds and grows. And that is the energy of love, my friends. And some people might say, well, that too, what does that mean? Nothing. It doesn't have any meaning, because when you pull it all back, you understand that most of the world that we engage with and the definitions that we have are constructed by us. Carbon-based life forms, my friends. And we see things in nature that indicate that there is a story unfolding that we have no clue about, because it's not something that we're, paying attention to. And I especially see this with the idea of human supremacy, which then, bleeds into and is the birthplace of other supremacies, like white supremacy, for example. Not to say, it's super casually, just white supremacy. No, it's like these supremacies are based on understandings that we have of the world and what things mean and who people are. And we've created these structures. In tarot, the tower is the falling apart of something. And I feel like collectively, the reason why I wanted to do A Course in Miracles and work through it in this creative way is because I feel like we're reaching a tipping point. We're probably well past it, to be completely honest, between climate emergencies and things happening collectively. We're hitting a point where we're realizing that these systems mean absolutely nothing and that we've given them power. The monsters in the closet are just us. It's just us. The monsters under the bed are us, and understanding that this is how we separate from one another, right? This separation, this idea that we're separate and therefore we need to defend ourselves against one another. We need to defend ourselves from one another, because that separation is something that is, remedied by an act of war, because anything outside of us can be seen as a threat to the ego. So there's this ego death that takes place. But for the purpose of this lesson, I'll read it again to you, okay? I'll read it again. I do not understand anything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. So, skydiving with parachutes made from stardust. If nothing is real, friends, and we don't understand what it's for, can we be open to the possibility that comes from that? Can we be open to the possibility that emerges and the ways of seeing that emerge when we step outside of what we know and admit that we may not know it all? Big stuff. So, That was lesson number 3 from A Course in Creativity, my friends. I will see you tomorrow for lesson number 4. Take care.